Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Full Spectrum D&D podcast. My name is Trey.
I am Rungwin.
And we've got some more stuff to talk about tonight.
Yes.
I don't think we really have any news that we need to cover.
No, not this week. We kind of, I think there's been a couple things come out, but there's nothing that
pressing.
new. Yeah, nothing pressing or no new dates or anything.
Yeah, maybe some depressing, but no pressing.
Right.
So we're going to talk about domains tonight in this Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. And again, for anybody who's been keeping up with our Ravenloft discussions, we had talked about maybe talking about the creating a Dark Lord or creating your own domain, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in here for it.
Right.
But Rundgren and I discussed it, and I think we would rather go ahead and talk about the ones that are in the book first.
Yes.
So you can have an idea of what a domain is and what a Dark Lord is, and then when we get into the actual, like, how to make one, the book really does a great job of showing you how to do it anyway. Awesome. So hopefully we can go with that. Do you want me to list these off first or just go through them? Because there's quite a few of them.
Well, I guess just kind of just go through them because at this point the only one I know for 100% sure that we're going to talk about or maybe just brush on is the one, Strahd and Ravenloft. Barovia, yeah.
So this is the one that definitely has the most to it. There's the most information for it, but I also think it's the one that we should probably spend the least amount of time on.
Okay.
Because there's already a
Makes
book
sense. Yes.
for Strahd, Curse of Strahd. If you want to know more about Barovia, the domain of the first vampire, they all have these nice little titles in them, which is very good and very evocative. Cool. And each of them is assigned a genre, some hallmarks, and what the missed talismans would be. Okay. We'll get into the what talismans are when we talk about making a domain. Yeah. But a missed talisman, just a shorthand, would be an item that if somebody has that, they can travel through the mist to be able to get there.
Right.
That would be like a... if you watch One Piece, it would be like a log pose. But basically, for Barovia, you would need a Barovian wine bottle, or a Von Zarovich Family Crest, or a Mark of the Raven talisman. And if you have any one of those things, you can find your way to Barovia, or because of other things, you can find your way to Barovia as well. So don't let that hold you back from sending your NPCs or your players to a specific plane.
Well, the talisman would be used as like, you're going there intentionally.
Yeah, I want to go there. Yeah. Right. Whereas, as we talked about last time, Ravenloft, or the Shadowfell, depending on how you want to call it, can still grab you from anywhere. Yeah. So, Barovia, domain of the first vampire. The Dark Lord is Strahd von Zarovich. And without getting too much into creating a Dark Lord and things like that, the Dark Lord is the lifeblood of the domain.
Yes.
In the Shadowfell, it's all tied to the Dark Lord, and everything about the area is based on the Dark Lord.
Yeah, well, they're tied together, aren't they?
Yes.
The domain and
yes. So there must always be a Dark Lord.
Right, the
domain is a reflection of them.
Yeah.
So if for any reason you allowed your players to kill Strahd, one of those players has to become the Dark Lord. Basically, it has to have one. And it will change to match around it. So the hallmarks of Barovia are Undead Despot, which is Strahd, a notorious haunted stronghold, and a tragic resurrection. Just things to give you ideas for what you can play around with here.
Which, if you don't know Curse of Strahd, it's kind of the classic Transylvania Dracula setting.
Absolutely.
Is what it would be.
There's a lot of like noteworthy, and again, if you are thinking about getting this book, absolutely you should check it out. You should get this book if you want cool environments, because there's a lot in here we're not going to dig into, right? Yeah. There's maps, there's locations, there's people, there's a bunch of stuff just on the Dark Lords themselves. But what I want to hit on here is I want to hit the opening blurbs,
okay,
and then I want to hit the noteworthy features.
Gotcha.
So in Barovia, the night is a curse. With the dying of the light, wicked sounds slip from the darkened spires of Castle Ravenloft to work the will of an immortal overlord. This is the realm of the vampire Count Strahd von Zarovich, whose depravities have doomed him and countless generations to endlessly repeating cycles of obsession and despair. which is very cool.
Yeah.
The howls of wolves and shrieks of ravens swarms echo through the dismal valleys and oppressive forests of Barovia. In isolated communities, superstitious villagers find the brightness in their lives smothered by dread of their aloof overlord, his baleful servants, and ancient evils that fester unopposed. So, just a little idea.
I seem to remember in the second edition, Curse of Strahd, one of the things they talked about with the environment was your players will never feel like they're alone.
Right. And that comes into the noteworthy features section.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which is very cool. I did want to hit one last thing about Barovia, though. The villagers don't realize that their torments have played out over and over again, as Strahd is slowly getting closer to claiming his victim that he's been after for generations. So something to keep in mind there, that these villagers have no idea that events are repeating. The noteworthy features are Barovia is a gloomy realm of valleys isolated by wolf-proud forest and treacherous mountains. Dense cloud casts the land in perpetual gloom. The land's somber, superstitious people live in small, scattered villages. These communities are each led by a burgomaster who seeks to avoid the ire of the land's aloof lord, Count Strahd von Zarovich. Strangers are widely viewed with suspicion. Many locals believe Count von Zarovich is a vampire. He dwells in Castle Ravenloft, a citadel from which few return. Vistani bands, who we'll talk about maybe next week, passing through Barovia are under the protection of the Count. The protection stems from a past kindness the Vistani showed the Count from his long association with the fortune teller Madame Ava, who you might remember if you've ever read The Curse of Strahd. The stories of Barovia's people are full of hidden evils, treacherous witches, secretive cults, portentous ravens, vicious werewolves, and worse. And as you mentioned, the mist feels alive almost. They always feel like they're being watched, and they are, by the ravens and the wolves. Strahd is aware of everything. Again, the book has a full breakdown of Barovia, but I want to hit a couple things on Strahd real quick before we move on to the next one. Because again, if you don't know Strahd, there's a whole book about Strahd.
Yes.
There's a lot of places for it. But Strahd is, of course, the immortal vampire, the first vampire, a ruthlessly effective conqueror. He is smart. He is strong. But every single Dark Lord has a torment that's detailed. And these torments are their weakness and their strength.
Yes.
So playing on them is the way to deal with the Dark Lord.
Right.
Because again, your goal is probably not to kill the Dark Lord. Because the Dark Lords, first off, if you kill them, you have to take their place. But second off, they're very powerful because they're tied to the spirit of Ravenloft itself almost through the mist, right? They are chosen to be the Dark Lord.
Right.
So they are getting power to stay in that place.
Yes.
So you probably don't want to fight them. But Strahd's torment is eternity is a cruel consort. Through endless generations, Tatiana has been reincarnated again and again. Each time, Strahd believes he can undo his past failures, win Tatiana's heart, and in doing so, free himself from his ages-long curse. Each time, though, Tatiana renounces him once more. Strahd chafes within the borders of his domain. His desire for novelty, passion, and conquest matches his thirst for blood. And finally, Strahd considers Barovia's people dull inferiors, even as he resents them for the simple pleasures of hope and companionship they possess.
Yes.
So, you know a lot about Barovia already. Do you think that you would want to run a campaign in Barovia?
Oh yeah, and like I said, it's that's what it is. I mean, it's the classic Dracula story,
Right. Absolutely.
and it's brought to D&D, and it doesn't seem so now. Now it's just another quest book, but when it came out, there was nothing like that in D&D. You know,
Absolutely.
It was completely new. It's one of the reasons why it caught so many fire. So many people enjoyed it, and you have that. And if you've read the Dracula story, you have ammo.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
in your back pocket already to bring this world to life.
I did want to mention, too, there are a bunch of tables in here for Barovia, for adventures, for what form Tatiana has taken this time. So you can roll on those tables to have different adventures every time, to have how your players feel about Strahd, how Tatiana feels about Strahd, things outside of Barovia. There's a lot of options there that they give you the ability to roll on.
So it's kind of like they go, okay, so you run Curse of Strahd. and then you want to do something else in Barovia, you have a little table there, kind of set it up differently.
Yes, absolutely. And if you go, well, I don't know how to roleplay Strahd, that's okay. They give you his personality trait, his ideal, his bond, and his flaw.
Right on.
So you have it in the way he would say it. I am Barovia's lord. All within this land are mine.
Yes.
So that you can get a feel for how he plays.
That's cool.
But that's Barovia, which again, that's the one that has the most information. That's the poster child, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But still very, very cool. The next one is Bluet Spur. And I don't know if we're going to speed up or slow down as we cover these, because I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about here. This is the domain of alien memories.
Okay.
The Dark Lord is the god brain of Bluet Spur.
Nice.
And the genre, which I forgot to mention, the genre for Barovia is Gothic horror.
Right.
The genre for Bluet Spur is cosmic horror.
Yeah.
The hallmarks are alien abductions, otherworldly landscapes, untrustworthy memories, monstrous experimentation. And your talismans would be a dream journal, a metallic implant, a scrap of bizarre technology.
Nice.
Protean apocalypses. And just interrupt me whenever you feel like it, by the way.
No, I just like that. You say that again, please. I like that.
Protean apocalypses scar the impossible vistas of Bluet Spur, and none who witness them remember. The alien domain etches itself not upon the waking mind, but rather upon the body as inexplicable scars, and on the psyche through nightmares.
Oh my gosh.
Not all the domains of dread are drawn from worlds hospitable to life. Bluet Spur's scale and impossible geometry induce instinctual anxiety. Gaseous tempests whirl upon the hooked peaks of gravity-defying mountains. Oily spires twist in semi-organic contortions, causing fumaroles yawn and snap shut. Caustic fumaroles, yawn and snap shut hungrily. And above it all hangs a dying red orb. Little can survive this wasteland, which is why Bluet Spur's masters dwell underground.
Okay.
And they are, of course, mind flayers.
Okay. Yeah.
Illithids that have the god brain of Bluet Spur that, takes care of it. Your noteworthy features here are the land surface is a lethal alien place scattered with the ruins of a long-extent civilization. A mountain, massive beyond all words, looms as a constant presence and thrums with a soundless pulse that nonetheless demands attention. Misshapen shadows crawl among its fissures. Those who dream of events in this land often bear inexplicable scars, marks lending impossible evidence to their visions. So, Bluet Spur, realm of impossible dreams, right?
Yeah, that is very interesting. To jump from Gothic horror to cosmic horror like that.
Yes,
I find that really kind of out of left field in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
H.P. Lovecraft references there. They give a lot of good that cosmic horror.
It's a lot you can do with that.
Yes.
What I would really love to do in a campaign that was set in Bluet Spur, even like a one-shot, would be, and I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to try to divert.
Okay.
But would be to have a character.
There we are.
Would be to have a character, for instance, fall through the geometry.
Okay.
Because things don't quite line up right, and they think they can put their hand on the side of Mount Macabre, and it actually goes through because it was a 2D section almost. Like the geometry had turned so much that even though it looked right, it wasn't. And maybe you give them a good skill check, and they're okay, but just enough to make them go, "Hey, this is not right.
Yeah,
something's off here."
I can't trust my senses.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the Dark Lord is the god brain.
Yes.
The scope of what mind flayers call history exists on a cosmic scale. Through ages of empire and conflict, the Illithid elder brains indulged experiments without comparison or reference for lesser beings. Explorations beyond the boundaries of time, reality, immortality, and the multiverse. Many failed, at least one catastrophically so. To summarize an eon of atrocities, one elder brain's reality-bending research had an unexpected result, revealing to it a malignant truth for which existence was unprepared. And I have to read the rest of this as if I was doing an audiobook for H.P. Lovecraft.
Go.
revealing to it a malignant truth for which existence was unprepared. Guided by this burgeoning revelation, the elder brain turned and preyed upon its peers, consuming their discoveries and their physical forms to fuel an impossible apotheosis. Ultimately, though, the weight of the elder brain's deeds caused its own physicality to rebel, giving rise to an alien disease that began devouring its fleshy form. Horrified by an affliction that infected only them, the other elder brains united and psionically expelled the diseased brain from existence. Or so they thought. And so, yeah, now it's in Bluetspur. The mist grabbed it before it could be destroyed. A place without time or reality. Plucked it and planted it in Bluetspur.
The mind flayers, the illicit, are such a... I don't know. It's I don't want to say out of place thing.
Yeah.
But they kind of are in
the
D&D world.
Yeah.
They are alien.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their history goes back before some of the gods. You know, if you're actually going to study D&D lore.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, it was on a cosmic scale. So having a whole realm of dread kind of set up, that's really cool. I like it.
My favorite thing about this, too, is that in your campaign, it is not that you start in Bluetspur. Because you're going back to your body when you wake up. The mists are only taking you while you're asleep.
Yeah.
You start in a regular campaign world. And then you can recover memories from being in Bluetspur. Because every time you go to sleep, you're going back there again.
Yeah.
So you want to go there and stop it. Which is a very cool idea.
Thinking of a couple of Zelda storylines that could be kind of reworked.
Yeah.
Into that, you know, the shards of memories. Not just like ripping off Zelda, but there's, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's so evocative because can you imagine you're running a campaign and all of a sudden obviously the DM had it planned, right? But you as the player, all of a sudden your character is constantly being pulled into this other place when they're asleep. And you have to go stop it because you're going to die here at some point. You need to get there and shut it down.
So what do you do about elves?
I would say that while trancing, they would be applicable to this.
They could be pulled?
Right.
Okay.
Because the mists defy all reason, right?
True.
So they would be able to grab them even then. But... yeah, the domain of alien memories.
That was cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Very
it's
different,
so cool.
very interesting.
Next up is Borka.
Okay.
The domain of desire and deceit. The Dark Lord is Ivana Boritsi and Ivan Delisnya. The genres are gothic horror and psychological horror. Yeah. Hallmarks are political intrigue, poison, and revenge. And your Miss Talismans would be a dram of sweet-smelling poison, a singed love letter, or a tarnished signet ring. This is where the nobles entangle the domain in a web of intrigue. Mm-hmm. While the common folk scrape for survival, the domain's callous aristocrats distract themselves with cruel diversions. They pay what they consider pittances in gold, land, and lives in pursuit of power, thrills, and the rarest pleasure, untarnished emotion.
This automatically, for me, has a Victorian feel to it.
Yes, I agree.
And it, once again, completely different than the other two.
Right.
Set off a different idea to mess with your head.
Yes.
You know, I like the entry. I like the back. This one so far out of the three, the first one, Strahd, you kind of have a quest. I mean, you can go.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you can put more. You know, you can start your own.
Right.
The second one.
Yeah, Bluetspur becomes your quest, right?
Yeah.
You don't really get a choice once it starts.
This, you know, this is all, you know, you're going to have to do all kinds of backdoor allies and kind of create this little world.
And that's where the noteworthy features, I think, come into play, too. Because powerful families control the government, commerce, and entertainment in Borka. The Boritsi family holds the greatest influence. These Borkan noble families include a dominant main family and lesser branch lineages. Branch noble families, sometimes with different surnames, are subservient, of course, to the main family.
Right.
Each noble family maintains an estate with village-sized holdings nearby. These estates are testaments to the family's prestige, fortune, and hidden secrets. but the common folk live in rural villages that serve noble interest or in crowded cities. Most either avoid entanglements with powerful but fickle nobles or desperately court their favor. Culture and prestige in Borca reach their height in the fabulous city of Levkarest. At its heart rises the great cathedral of the god Ezra. And of course, Ezra in the D&D world is the god of the mist.
Yes.
So,
This actually, Victoria said would be great. Also, the, pull from Romeo and Juliet on this.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
I got a good feel for that as well. These are really. I like the setup. The blurbs work.
Yeah.
The as it goes through, because you get a feel. You automatically get a feel off the bat, and then the more you go, the world kind of flushes out.
Yep.
And it's not a lot of detail.
It's not.
You just kind of hitting the high points, and it.
Can I tell you the name of one of the noble estates that I think is going to make you immediately go, oh, yeah?
Okay.
The Baritzi family,
Right.
which the Dark Lord is from, their estate is called Misericordia, as in misery accord.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that name.
That is good.
And of course, it gives you family names for all the noble families. It gives you estate names for all of them. You will not have to worry about making a bunch of names. You just have to role play these people.
If and I'm not, but if you are good at running Neverwinter or a city like this, I bet you have a field day with this domain.
Oh yeah. You also have that there are 2 Dark Lords in this.
Right.
I'm sorry, I've been trying to lose my voice, and I'd like to stop doing that.
Well, there's technically 2 Dark Lords, but I mean they still act as one unit.
They're co-equal rulers, Ivana Baritzi and Ivan Delishnya. Ivana and Ivan have little to do with each other. They kind of just, both of their homes are on opposite sides of the domain, and they take care of what they have, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. They don't meet all the time. They are opposite sides of the same tarnished coin. Ivana fought for all she has, and now loathes having it. Whereas Ivan was given everything and believes he was denied what he deserves. So they are great. Ivana is forced into society. Ivan thirsts for attention. Ivana appears perpetually youthful. Ivan bears the weight of ages. And of course, you have all the stuff about them, where they would be, how they got there, their powers, everything like that, which is really cool. You wanted to get into how you would play them. Their torments, of course, are in here too. Ivana's has not aged since the mist claimed her, and her youthful appearance leads many to underestimate her. She rules everything brilliantly, but she's endlessly doubted and second-guessed, even though her skills should belie that she doesn't need to be such. Meanwhile, Ivan, who is a very old man in a spider chair, because he can't walk on his own anymore, so he's in a chair that has spider legs to allow him to walk, a clockwork pram, as it were. He's a toy maker, but he's alone, and the solitude terrifies him. He was given everything, destroyed it all, and now has no idea how to live. He endlessly creates fawning fake family from Clockwork Creations to distract him from his solitude, which is so good.
Yeah. Have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah. So yeah, Borca seems like a really fun domain to play around in. And again, it also has a bunch of tables for like, how do you know some of these people? What are the bonds of intrigue?
Okay.
What's the lethal level almost of like, what is your lethal leverage that you have on another noble? If you want to play in any of these domains, the book has a bunch of things to help you find how to do it.
That's awesome.
And we're not sponsored by them.
Right. We're just excited that it's a good book.
Right. This is the best book they've ever made, I believe, for 5th edition.
Yes.
So next up from Borca, because again, we got a lot of these to go through. Next up is the Carnival, the Wandering Domain of Wonders.
Actually, this one I'm familiar with, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is being reused, which is great.
Yeah.
The Dark Lord is Nepenthe. The genres are body horror and dark fantasy. The hallmarks are entertainment, fey bargains, misfits, and wandering exiles. And the talismans would be like a carnival flyer, a colorful ticket, or a strange prize from a carnival game.
Yeah.
Resplendent with bright banners, calliope music, and the smells of rich food, I don't know why I keep messing up words. The carnival's promises visitors of a surreal wonderland where any dream is possible. Garish flyers appear before the carnival's arrival, promising marvels, terrors, and a brief escape from the gloom of daily life. But nothing in the land of the mist is beyond suspicion, and the wise no strangers are intrinsically dangerous.
Yeah.
This is a traveling domain.
Yes.
It can show up in any other domains or lands. Mm-hmm. So you can actually show up in Barovia. It can show up in Borca. And when it does, that Dark Lord has domain of just that area.
Yeah.
So it's not that Dark Lord then is vying for the power of other Dark Lords. It's that the Carnival area is ruled by Nepenthe.
Yes.
And the rest of Borca, Barovia, wherever, is ruled by its existing Dark Lord. So
it's cool.
Yes.
It's just cool. The creepy carnival.
Yes.
With the showing up, and he shows up in Ravenloft, and Strahd comes to confront him, and as soon as he passes the carnival gates, he's like, "Hey, you have no power here."
Yep.
Yep. I'm not going to come out.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We don't need to fight, but you can't do anything while you're in here.
Right.
And I think there could be a really interesting campaign where maybe you're playing characters that are at the start of the setting, 20th level. They have beaten the Dark Lord, and the party collectively is the new Dark Lord. The power is split between them all, and then the carnival shows up, and they enter it, and they're level 1 again.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Because they have no power.
Yeah. You have no power here.
That could be really cool. The noteworthy features: flyers advertising the carnival's impending arrival appear mysteriously in communities before it appears. The carnival doesn't contribute to their production or distribution, which I think is a really fun thing to add in there.
Yeah.
2 silver pieces buy a ticket to the carnival, while the big top shows, the Hall of Horrors, and side shows have their own entry fees. The carnival wanders endlessly, never staying anywhere for more than a few weeks. Most settlements welcome this traveling diversion, but tragedies follow in its path. Merchants unaffiliated with the carnival follow its travels and set up shop alongside it. Known as the Litwick Market, this collection of tents and booths is filled with strange vendors and stranger goods. And finally, those seeking an escape from a place or their current lives can join the carnival. Mm-hmm. As long as travelers are willing to work and contribute to the community, they're welcome to stay as long as they like.
There's as this is a little DM side note here. If you're liking this one and you're thinking about using it, I suggest either reading the Ray Bradbury story or watching the movie Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, just for feel, and because it feels like that.
Yes.
And that's what I do. I love that. I love that saying. I love, like I said, being able to show up somewhere.
Yes.
This is my spot. Fun and games for all.
Right.
But there's always some undertone.
Yes.
Maybe, not everybody's in the village after they leave. A couple people are no longer there.
Right.
And things like that. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
My favorite thing about this is in the sideshow section, they give you a bunch of NPCs that are attractions.
Cool.
For the carnival. Tyndall the Barker, who is a lead barker or a mage that tours the grounds, but he is a soulless man. He casts no reflection and claims to lack a soul. Alti the Werehair, who is a quick-tongued rapper and dancer who turns into a rabbit on nights of the full moon. Amelia the Vampire, who is a cheery acrobat, but obviously also is
a vampire. Yeah.
Charlotte the Fire Eater, who is a daredevil, but claims that her blood is flammable and that she's burned the hair off 18 hecklers. The Organ Grinder, a somber clown who grinds an ornate barrel organ. The clown never speaks, but allows visitors to guess at the animal's nature, while the animals that caper around him as he plays, for a copper piece, if they can guess what the nature of the animal is. Why doesn't he speak? Celessa the Snake is a dancer and animal tamer with a collection of rare serpents. She claims she was born a snake and magically transformed into an elf.
Nice. I like this.
Yeah.
I like this. Just the little fill in.
Yes.
Not this is how you have to run it. This is how these characters are going to act. Mm-hmm. These are fill in.
Right.
You can pick, mix and match.
Yep.
You can
make your own.
Yes, I like it.
The Dark Lord is sold who has Nepenthe, who is really the Dark Lord, which is the Holy Avenger longsword that she carries.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Isolde is an Eladrin. It counts as a Fey creature,
Yes.
of course, and uses a Cambion stat block.
That's really interesting. They're using an optional race.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
And then Nepenthe, of course, who, not Isolde, Nepenthe is the Carnival's Dark Lord, is the sword, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
The Holy Avenger sword. There's a whole backstory in here for Isolde and how it happened and the grief and the fury that Nepenthe gives to be able to force her to stay on. But I would encourage you, if you are interested in this, to look up that whole backstory for yourself. Because I would much rather you read the whole thing than me give you Cliff Notes.
True.
But
it's that good.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Isolde's story is very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And the fact that this sword is just able to, hey, I'll give you what you want. It's like, Nepenthe's and Isolde's, because they're tied, the torments are the carnival constantly grows, bringing additional souls dependent on Isolde's guardianship. She's tortured by her obligation toward the carnival troopers and her vow to avenge her murdered companions. Isolde obsessively plots the perfect contradiction with her quarry, who I won't get into because, again, you should read her story. Yeah. But the small concerns of the carnival nag at her ceaselessly. Her burdens drive her to seek seclusion to keep her temper in check. And she dreads the day when the carnival crosses paths with its Fey counterpart for a second time. Were that to happen, she would be forced to relinquish the carnival to its true Har'Akir masters, and Nepenthe along with it.
Good stuff.
And of course, there's an adventure table where you can roll to see, hey, there's some cool stuff going on at the carnival.
Right.
Again, if you want to run a campaign in any of these, they give you the tools to do it.
I really like the fact that these domains, it's easy for me to go, wow, okay, I have this literary background.
Yep.
I've read this before.
Yep.
And I can take this, and it changes and it fits here.
Right.
Like it's in a way, there's nothing new here.
That's right.
And it's perfect.
Yes. You can take any one of these domains and say, hey, what if I remove the mist as a component from it completely?
Yes.
I can drop this into my world.
Yeah.
Borka is now a part in my world.
Yeah, I think you could easily make that a city in your world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Blue and Spit is now a planet in my universe.
Oh, gotcha.
Where players can be forced to go in their dreams,
Right.
A lot of cool stuff you could do. The next one is Darkon.
Okay.
Which is the domain on the brink of destruction. It has no Dark Lord. And the genres are dark fantasy and disaster horror. Yeah. You may say, but Trey, you said earlier there always has to be a Dark Lord. Well, there's a reason. The hallmarks are a fractured realm, magical ruins, or an ongoing supernatural catastrophe. And the talismans, if for some reason you wanted to go to Darkon, are the ashes of a corpse, coins stamped with Azalin Rex's face, or tainted spring water. Here's your blurb. The domain of Darkon has failed. Across the land, ageless monuments and magical wonders crumble before the shroud. The mist turned hungry. Yeah. Once the prison of the Lich, Azalin Rex, Darkon stretched between two oceans, its land filled with Gothic cities and the monuments of forgotten wizard tyrants. Largely ignoring his role as ruler, Azalin dwelled in seclusion while manufacturing magical atrocities and manipulating prophecies to free himself from the Dark Power's grip. He finally succeeded, orchestrating a magical event that shook the entire domain, the Hour of Ascension. The Dark Lord vanished, and Darkon changed. Since Azalin's disappearance, a strange golden star called the King's Tear hangs in the heavens, and each night the mists surrounding the domain roil with hidden activity and creep inward. These mists, now known throughout the domain as the Shroud, erode Darkon's borders. Those fleeing the Shroud report strange shapes and figures within. Yeah. What happens to the lands claimed by the Shroud is a mystery, and none who enter it return. Despite facing gradual annihilation, Darkon's living population largely ignores the threat, dismissing reports of vanished regions as rumors and fear-mongering. And if you go, well, that's weird, remember, those within the domain don't view anything weird in the domain as weird.
Weird, yeah.
As the domain splits into crumbling islands, ambitious beings vie for Azaelan's power, each claiming to be the Lost King's obvious successor. These would-be tyrants blame one another for the domain's dissolution, and each believes they alone can save Darkon by becoming its sole ruler.
Yeah, I automatically want to run. Okay, you got dropped in Apocalypse.
Yep.
How are you? You're in Apocalypse. This is coming apart.
Everything's dying.
Yeah, everything's
fast.
Dying, the nothing's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, yep. Yeah. You're gonna have that would be a time pressure session.
Oh yeah,
campaign,
for sure.
Yeah,
you're not just gonna be hanging out in town talking in that
right.
campaign.
That's a cool. That's a nice one to throw in. Just hey, look, this is Apocalypse world.
Yep.
I like it.
Again, I fall back on what you were saying of a Monster of the Week style campaign with 4 Mistwalkers.
Yeah.
That every session or every handful of sessions they're in a different realm.
Yeah.
Here's the noteworthy features for Darkon. The mist-consuming Darkon have divided the land into 4 regions: the Jagged Coast, Lichgate, the Mistlands, and Rex Crown. Azaelan Rex, King of Darkon, vanished during the Hour of Ascension. Since then, the King's Tier, the unmoving golden star, hangs in the sky. The sun and moon pass behind this star daily. The Kargat, the nation's secret police, is particularly active in Darkon's largest cities, Martura Bay and Ilaluk. The night after any humanoid dies, its corpse rises as a mindless undead that shambles into the night. Locals swiftly burn bodies to present this.
Wow.
There's a lot you can do there.
That was a little twist on the end there. I didn't see that one coming, actually.
My assumption is they go into the Shroud.
Yeah.
And become part of, almost like the mists are eating them early, right? Well, you died, come back to me.
Yeah.
But then, of course, it goes into the cities and everything there.
Okay, so since you've thrown the in, there's remember the group I can't run this with. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And that's not the only one with undead in this.
Okay.
Just a heads up. For anybody out there, I don't normally give trigger warnings.
Yeah.
But there are spiders coming and there are undead coming, so just keep that in mind. Then it also has the inheritors of Darkon, those that are vying for power, like Alcio Baron Metis. You have Darkalis Rex. You have Madame Talisveri Eris. And each one of these has a different goal, but they all want to become the ruler of Darkon. And, of course, you can make your own that's going forward as well. And there's a table for adventures that you can run. There's also tables for what type of destruction is happening. So, like, do you want it to be that the Shadowfell is reabsorbing it?
Okay.
And it's funny, here they use the word Shadowfell.
Yeah.
Because that's what Ravenloft is. Do you want it to be that Darkon's being consumed to fuel magic funneling from Castle Avernus into the King's Tier? Do you want it to be that the Hour of Ascension was an attack and invaders are using the Shroud to attack? Or do you want it to be that the priests of Osibus, which we didn't even get into, are draining life from Darkon to empower the imprisoned vestige of a wicked deity? There's a lot you can do there. And then there's also a table for what was Azaelan's fate after he used the Hour of Ascension.
Wow, that's cool.
There's a table for how you would save Darkon. There's a table for once you have that thing, how do you achieve it?
Wow.
There's a table for allies and rivals. There's a table for dread of, like, what are some things that the characters in that world would know? Or, like, are they being forced to work with somebody? Or is somebody in here the one that's already been chosen to be the new Dark Lord and they just don't know it yet?
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of stuff. The final fate of Darkon is another table. Again, I know I've said it a bunch. If you want to run a campaign in one of these, Wizards have put in the work.
Well, here's the thing. And they've done it with each one of them, it seems like. We haven't hit the tables hard.
Right.
You just mentioned them in passing, right? But one of the things about the original Curse of Strahd, right?
Yeah.
Is it's not going to run the same twice. It's because of the way the game's set up.
That's right.
The area is going to be the same.
Yeah.
You kind of have the same goal, but how you go about getting what you need, where it is and everything, that changes.
Yeah.
So you could literally play the game, run that quest 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
And not go to the same places each time.
Absolutely.
Until you get to, a couple of key points.
Absolutely.
And it seems like, okay, well, let's keep that with these.
Right.
So we'll give them enough options.
Mm-hmm.
Not just options for the world, but options for the ending.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's some ideas for how you can wrap this up.
I think it's really cool, too, that these almost feel like they're made for short campaigns, right?
Yes.
But if you wanted to tie them all together, you could.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you could have a whole campaign just going from spot in the Shadowfell to spot in the Shadowfell.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think would be really fun. So, just to give you a heads up, we are 5 in, and there's 10 more.
Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. The 10 more?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 3. Just give me the next 3. And then there's one special one you want to hit. That one, but...
I could instead just give shorter descriptions.
Okay, maybe we go that because we'll go all night.
Yeah, we would. So, Dement Liu is next. It's the domain of decadent delusion. The Dark Lord here is Cedra d'Aonair, and it's dark fantasy and psychological horror. This one is about masquerades, decadent aristocracy, parties, things like that, but also social decay, imposter syndrome, and illusions.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. And I think since we're trying to move now, maybe I don't read all these blurbs, but just to give you an idea, every night things are great. Everybody's having a party, but during the day, things aren't that great. Everybody recognizes how bad life is.
So it's like the French Revolution here.
Yeah.
With
The aristocrats have a busy social calendar, but everybody else forced to work.
Yeah.
A lot that you could get into there. Everyone pretends to be wealthier than they are. Illusions hide disrepair. Lies, great and small, fill everyday communication. Everyone knows these truths.
Right.
Everyone recognizes these are lies.
They just accept the illusion.
But no one dares speak of it.
Yeah.
So, very, very cool. And then just to really quick touch on the Dark Lord. She is a Duchess d'Aonair that is clearly magically and illusionally gifted.
Yeah.
And she wants everyone to maintain the appearance of normalcy. And if you don't, you're not going to be there next time. Because when she isn't hosting, she sheds her garb and stalks the city as a murderous spirit known as the Red Death.
I was going to say, look, the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland. And then, yeah.
So, yeah, that's
awesome.
Dement Liu.
That's cool.
Which is also a very cool name for that.
Yeah.
Next up is one you'll probably recognize, which is Falcavnia. This is the domain besieged by the dead. So again, I mentioned the undead earlier.
Yeah.
The Dark Lord is Vladeska Drakov, and this is disaster horror with dwindling resources, fickle hero worship, impending disaster, suspicion, totalitarianism, and zombies.
Yeah.
So the days of the living are numbered in Falcavnia, sorry. Every month on the night of the new moon, thousands of zombies appear from the mists and invade Falcavnia. Ruins cover it. Elite soldiers known as Talons patrol the land, hunting for deserters, looters, and strangers to press into service. There's only one punishment for any crime in Falcavnia: impalement. And individuals earn public or military esteem for special acts of heroism, dubbed Trueborn of Falcavnia.
Yeah.
These national heroes are treated well, but the fickle public turns against them if they're perceived as not doing enough to end the undead invasion. So very cool. And then just real quick again to touch on the Dark Lord, Vladeska Drakov she was the Crimson Falcon before. She was the leader of the Talons. But the sacking her city caused her to go a little off.
Yeah.
And now she is the Dark Lord in this unfamiliar land, and she is trying to raise up her falcons again.
Well, this is the thing you find with each of the Dark Lords as you're going in there. Their fault is exaggerated.
Yes.
By the mists.
Right.
Or it should be, right?
Yeah.
It's the Isolde in the carnival,
Yes.
little bugging things.
Yeah.
You know, shouldn't be that big of a torment.
That's right.
But the weight behind it and what the mist puts on it.
Yes.
You know, it's a strange little version of hell.
Absolutely. And I think what makes Drekhov so interesting to me is that she was the leader of a mercenary army. Yeah. And now she is, like, her big problem was that she lost that army. They were killed.
Yeah.
And now she is stuck in a perpetual hell of constantly has an army, and every night, once a week, I guess it was, but thousands of undead come charging in, and she loses that army.
Every new moon?
Every new moon, yeah.
So once or twice a month?
Yeah, once or twice a month. I'm sorry, that's right.
Even still, you know.
Yeah, she loses all of them again, and the mist keeps sending her more people.
Yeah.
To be able to make this army out of. So it's every, like you said, every month, basically.
Yeah.
She's losing it all over again. So very cool setting.
Which, if you haven't figured out by now, none of these people are going to have a happy...
Oh, yeah, no.
No. A happy ending, really, you know.
Yeah.
Or
next up is Har'Akir.
Okay, yeah.
This is the domain of the ancient dead. The Dark Lord is Octopot. Genre's dark fantasy. Your hallmarks are ancient tombs, desert perils, lost gods, and mummies. Mm-hmm. And of course, again, this is your sands of time have buried the desert realm. The forgotten pharaohs crumble beneath a merciless sun. You know, this is your vast desert, deadly storm.
Yeah.
Water is a scarce resource beyond oases that are pockmarked across the map. The land is ruled by Pharaoh Octopot, the immortal intermediary between the mortals and the gods. The pharaoh rules from his pyramid, Pharaoh's Rest, in the city of the dead. The people worship a pantheon of strict gods, which they give you a list of. The priests of these gods oversee all aspects of labor, agriculture, trade, justice, and religion in the pharaoh's name. Acheran death rituals call for removing the heart, draining the body of blood, and wrapping the remains in linen. These methods preserve the body so the pharaoh might call it to service. It is a crime to burn the dead, which is very interesting. You know, it seems like this is more of a survival campaign, but also at the same time, hey, maybe somebody that you know and love has been raised as a mummy to fight for Octopot, and you don't like that.
Right.
Octopot. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that N. But, yeah. And Octopot, just real quick to hit on him as we have the others, his torment, he is like an undead pharaoh, basically. Barely alive, but not quite. The dark powers, the shadows, won't let him die. He is forced to be alive. Existence is pain. He vividly remembers every one of his crimes and understands that his ambitions have sustained his corporeal form for untold lifetimes, but also recognizes what they cost. He's forced to forever see that. He seeks his Ka and rebirth as immortal, not to prolong his existence, but so this life might finally end.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And of course, there's tables here too for everything. And I don't mean to be reductive with that.
Yeah.
It's just that we got to move on.
I know.
And there's a table here for the shape that his soul takes.
Well, it's like we were mentioning it before. You know, you're talking about the stuff that we're going to cover. You know, this week, and you know, I'm just going to try to hear for the first time.
Yeah.
And just what you explained to me, I was like, man, this book has got to be so much bigger,
right,
than some of the other ones they put out.
I got the next one for you.
All right, well,
I'm not trying to just burn through them, but the next one is Hezlan, the domain doomed by magic.
Okay.
The Dark Lord is Hazlik, and it's dark fantasy and disaster horror. Your hallmarks are amoral spellcasters, magic-ravaged environment, magical experiments, and wild magic. And in Hezlan, magic is authority, justification for any excess, and for those without it, the scepter of inevitable doom. The wizard overlord Hazlik views everything from his tower, basically, but the domain is less a nation, more a magical laboratory. Like this is his place.
Yeah.
The wizard, the noteworthy features here, the wizard Hazlik rules Hezlan. His apprentices have free reign to exploit the land and its people to further their magical experiments. Inhabitants claim the eye-like design called the Eye of Hazlik bears Hazlik's blessing and wards off dangerous magic, but it also lets him see at all times. Magic's unreliable in Hezlan, resulting in dangerous side effects. If you use magic here, you get a roll in the wild magic table.
Interesting.
Anything could happen. The visible effects of magical disasters disfigure the domain, from rivers poisoned by alchemical runoff to craters caused by magical explosions. And creatures warped by magical experiments infest the domain, including some cool monsters we're going to talk about when we get to Chapter 5, known as Grimishkas.
Okay.
And, of course, purple worms.
Right.
Yeah, just throw that in there, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you exist here, you either are magical or not. And if you're not magical, you're a second-rate citizen. You're second class, you know?
Right.
You're not as important as those that can help Har'Akir with his research.
You said it's not really... when you explain it, it's like his laboratory or something. I thought of I don't know if you know, the Baghdad in the bottle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
The Golden Age, which, 6,000 years ago or whatever,
right.
where magic and everything was up.
Yeah.
To preserve that, because he knew it couldn't last, he... made a deal and put it in a bottle.
Right, absolutely.
That. And of course, there were negative effects of that.
Right.
Right. This one kind of caught me a little bit by surprise. I hadn't heard of this one.
Yeah, this one's really cool.
I like it. There's I think in my mind there's a little more political intrigue with this that I would play with.
Yeah.
With his, not only separation of the magic users and non-magic users, but just his central, setup over this. Interesting world, man.
Oh yeah.
Really, really like it.
Let me give you his big torment, and you will probably love it even more. Since entering his law, Har'Akir has not been able to learn new magic.
Oh.
No matter how much he studies or researches new magical lore or spells, he cannot master them. He can use and prepare any spell he already knows, but can no longer advance the magical research that drives his life.
So, if a character shows up casting a spell that he can't,
Yep.
That's probably going to cause some problems.
I am sure. He's also terrified that others will find out he can't learn new magic.
Gotcha.
So he constantly has to pretend that he has learned more, which is another reason that drives his experiments. Just this weird cyclical thing he can't get away from. Very interesting.
Yeah.
We are in the back half of the list now as we try to move through these quickly. Next up is Akath, the domain trapped in a dream.
Okay.
The Dark Lord is Xianchang. This is body horror and cosmic horror, and the hallmarks are an endlessly changing labyrinth, deadly Jiangxi, and inescapable dream world. This is dark, messed up mythological China.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Go way back.
Yes.
Yeah, with the...
Yes. There are two versions of Akath. When the inhabitants of Akath fall asleep, they enter an alternate version of the city they call home. And this is the one dreamed up by Xianchang. The mythical, best version is City of Gold and everything's great.
Right.
But in the physical world, its surreal, knotted streets echo with their emptiness. Within spare, meandering row houses, the majority of the populace slump against walls or sprawl against each other where they fell, desperately waiting to dream again. In time, these poor souls can't remember which version's the real one and which one's the dream. Which is very evocative.
It is.
Your big noteworthy features are the citizens of this city sleep endlessly within their homes. Those who wake feel pangs of starvation. Food is more valuable in the city than gold. And Jiangxi hunt the streets of Akath, tearing down whole districts and rebuilding them. Jiangxi being Chinese vampires basically. Which is very cool.
That's cool, yeah. Very cool.
By day, Xianchang, the Dark Lord, she drafts all these different plans to improve Akath, but by night, in the dream version, she rules over her people.
So the dream version's a perfect world for her as well?
Right.
Okay.
But there is a torment that ties into that, which we'll get to here. I did want to mention, too, that at night, while everyone is dreaming, the Jiangxi will completely rebuild streets and change the layout of the city to try and make it harder for people to get to Xianchang if they ever wanted to stop her. Her torment is that she is confounded by her fortune. Chang wishes to make the dream of Akath a reality, and though her servants follow her plans perfectly, the city grows endlessly more disordered. She relishes the dream version, but it makes the reality of her city all the more unbearable. She won't let the corruption of her real city invade her dream, and aggressively stamps out any imperfection in the dream realm. Also, to make this worse on her, right, and everybody,
Right.
her daughters, all 4 of her daughters, died in the real one, and in the dream one, they're alive. So she desperately wants to have what she has in the dream in real life, and so she's forcing everyone else to stay in the dream as well.
This might be the most heartbreaking one so far.
Yep, it's really sad.
And, but yeah, that
Really sad.
I like the world though. I like the changing the character. Oh, you go to sleep, you go to this other part. This is what you dream about when you wake up. Well, this is not what it looked like when you went to sleep.
Yep. Also, she tried to bring her daughters back to life in the real world and wound up turning them into monsters. So, all 4 of them have their own section here.
Wow.
Yeah. Ikath is very evocative. I don't know what else to say about that other than it's incredibly sad. But also, I'd love to play in that.
Yeah, it's an amazing world. The backstory you're going, which you're going to be. There's heartbreak in all of these, right?
Right.
But yeah, going into it, this is. Can you really be mad at her for her mother's dream world? You know,
right?
Where she has.
Yeah. Why would she want to leave?
Her people are safe. Her daughters are alive. You know, I very good, really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool setup.
Next up is Har'Akir, and again, I know we're moving through some of these really quickly, but we're trying to cover all of these in one episode as compared to taking multiple, because if we take multiple, we're never going to get through them.
That you got a point.
Har'Akir is the domain of betrayal and revenge, and the Dark Lord is Ramya Vasavaden. It's gothic horror and dark fantasy, and your hallmarks are monstrous leaders, family intrigue, and a war-torn nation. Your noteworthy features are that 2 factions struggle to lay claim to Har'Akir's Sapphire Throne, the soldiers and loyalists of Maharani Ramya, and the nobles and merchants who support the younger royal siblings are Ajani and Riva. The vast city of Jadurai performs multiple duties as Har'Akir's capital, the site of the royal palace, and a battlefield where factions struggle to claim or hold it as a symbol of rule. So basically, it's a permanent war between these successors, right?
Right. Okay.
Of the soldiers and the loyalists who were to the crown before, basically, and the nobles and merchants who want the younger siblings to one of them to rule, which is a really interesting way to do it.
You know, I know you're going to go into more, but just off the top, this one right here, to me, it's just okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I know there's going to be more to it as you go into it, but just off the top, it's like, okay, well, this is kind of basic.
Yeah.
You know, not bad. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But,
absolutely.
You know, as far as the hooks, the other ones, even the ones you shortened up on,
right?
It's not that deep yet.
This one has, it's almost like it's a lot of water. It's a lot of tropical rainforest, inland waterways, farming and fishing villages. Which is really interesting to me. I think that's an interesting, because when you think of this, you think of like maybe almost like a desert where you have your multiple kingdoms, right? Yeah. But instead, it's a much more lush and vibrant nation than you might think. Fierce followers of each faction scour the land, murdering any who oppose their faction.
Right.
And there's a Tower of Traitors, which is a dizzying skull-studded structure that grows daily. Some say its completion will cleanse the nation of evil, while others believe it will summon the god's wrath when it's finished. Yeah. But no one knows who's building it.
Oh.
The Tower of Traitors, as we said, ever-expanding. It's situated on the battlefield where Arjani and Riva murdered Ramya, participating in the creation of Har'Akir's domain. And it was Ramya's being brought back that
started
Dark Lord and everything.
Yeah.
That made this a domain. Ramya Vasavaden is the Dark Lord and has a skeletal army because she refuses to yield. She was handpicked by her father, but on the day that her father was killed, and the others declared themselves as the new leaders. She refused to yield, stood up to fight, and now is stuck in this forever war. She is a Death Knight.
Oh, okay.
She
Interesting.
She cannot die anymore.
Yeah.
And she has an illusion to make it look like she is human. But she is she constantly feels the chill in her bones and her own crumbling flesh.
Like it.
And her torment is that her two treacherous siblings endlessly contest her reign and sow discord. She loathes and loves them.
Yeah.
Despite their perpetual deceptions, she remains vulnerable to their promises and lies.
Good one.
Which again is very sad.
It is. But you know what? It probably excited me more than it should. I'm like, wow, cool. Excellent.
Yes.
Another really cool Death Knight.
Yes.
You know, we have Lord Soth, and then you have it in others, but, you know, bam, there's another one there.
Yep.
Very good.
And I feel like I should tell you that her two siblings have also been changed.
Okay.
They're not just human anymore. Arajani is now a Rakshasa.
Okay.
And Riva is now an Arcanoloth. So...
That's interesting.
Yeah. They both have their own blurb here that you can go into as well. Of course, there's a lot of different tables here. There's a renowned system.
Yeah.
For trying to balance between them. Loyalist benefits on a table. Rebel benefits on a table. There's a lot in there for how you want to try and play it against each other. But on one hand, you have a Dead Knight. And on the other, you have a Rakshasa. And I've already closed it. I can't remember what the other one was. Fighting against the Death Knight.
Yeah.
I was so proud of that segue. And then I ruined it. But a very cool setting.
I think so. It's on some levels a little more basic,
right,
than some of the others. But like I said, that's not a bad thing.
Right, you can do a lot with that.
Exactly.
I can already think of a couple campaigns I could run there.
Yeah, well, and you know they give you a different setting than probably you would think of to
yes.
do this, to run this in, and then just the little on this one. It's the little things
yes.
that make it interesting.
Right.
You know, there's no one.
Who do your players side with?
Yeah. You know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Next up is Kartakas, which is the domain of Tarnished Dreams. The Dark Lord is Har'Akir Lukas. It is a dark fantasy gothic horror. Hallmarks are hidden identities, dangerous performances, exploitative ambitions, and werewolves.
Nice.
This is a... how do I explain this one? It is like Kartakas has no government. Instead, each settlement is governed by a Meister singer. This is like a play, like an endless play that never stops, is the stage.
This is like a twisted Shakespearean Fey world.
Absolutely. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. These Meister singers maintain creative rivalries with each other, largely for show.
Yeah.
Settlements pride themselves on performative traditions, such as distinctive dress or song stylings. Wolves roam the land freely. Few venture outside during the full moon, fearing werewolves. And a sourceless song, I love this part, whispers through the mystical wilder sung wood, always fading before it ends. Although no one knows its conclusions, all Kartakans know the beginning. Sing of the trees, give voice to the breeze, and stave off the bloom of doom. While the wise sing their song, guilty necks stretch long, and... yeah, I love this idea of like, yeah, we don't need a government. We're all just, everything's great. We're playwrights and singers and dancers, and we just practice our stuff. And also there's werewolves out there, and doom is coming.
Well, it's not that like the playwrights and stuff, but these plays, these sonnets can be deadly.
Yep.
You know, there's while it's playful on the front, it's going to be like it needs to be dead serious in the background. Interesting world.
Let me tell you about the Dark Lord real quick.
Oh yeah.
Har'Akir Lukas is a man who was born amid a community of werewolves. He doesn't just want a pack, or an army, or a nation, or an empire. He wants it all. Ambition and blood are his two constant companions. He goes from a singer to the Dark Lord, bursting from I won't spoil all of it, but bursting from a crimson coffin in wolf form and devouring the previous Dark Lord, which is pretty sick. That's metal. However, his torment are that he's so obsessed with spreading his fame that he travels Kartakas endlessly. Whenever he returns to community, though, he finds he's been forgotten. Semi-polite variations of, "I thought you'd retired," ever torment him. He believes he just needs to find the right act, styling, or inspiration to finally submit him in the heart of Kartakas' people, and from there, take control of the nation. He's already in charge, but he doesn't think he is, because nobody remembers him.
Okay, look. I was going to say that there's certain sections in there where I feel like I'm being attacked.
And then where it all comes to a head is that Harkon's frustration eventually gives way to indulgences indulgences of his lycanthropic hunger. Bloody slaughters of his students and rivals often precede him moving on to another town.
Ugh.
So he gets there, and people tell him they don't remember him, and he's like, it's fine. And then it's not fine.
Right, it's not fine at all.
So definitely something to think about. There's also a daughter that you could bring in if you wanted to, called Akriel Lucas, who shares her father's vices. Let's put it that way. She also wants to be the best. And that is Kartakas. We have 5 more of these short ones.
We can do this.
And then I'll hit the list of the hey, this is just a place with a domain of. You can make it what you want, basically.
All right.
Lamordia is next. This is the domain of snow and stitched flesh. I love Lamordia.
Yeah, this is the Frankenstein. This is Frankenstein one.
Yes. Why can't I speak, Rundgren?
It's a long day.
The Dark Lord is Victra Mordenheim, and his body horror and gothic horror, amoral science, bizarre constructs, frigid wilderness, and mutagenic radiation. Life's cheap in Lamordia.
Yeah.
Lamordia is a frigid land of barren mountains, frozen swamps, icy seas. Its ruler, Baron von Aubrecker, who is not the Dark Lord, hasn't left his estate for years. In the middle of all this, he issues proclamations and sends agents to collect taxes. Steam power driven by boiling sewers fuels clockwork inventions and massive cranes in the city of Ludendorff.
Yeah.
The necessity of such innovations in fending off starvation and the frigid environment encourages the scientists at Ludendorff University to push the boundaries of science and morality. The reclusive genius Dr. Victra Mordenheim created or inspired Ludendorff's greatest inventions, and few voluntarily trek into Lamordia's wilderness, fearing freak blizzards, starving beasts, and creatures warped by strange radiation.
Yeah. That's it. That's just fun.
Yeah.
That really it is.
It is.
On that, because it's with that one, you don't have to go too deep, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going to be creepy. I like it.
So, Victra Mordenheim, the Dark Lord,
yes,
has taken over. She has taken the Baron Rudolf von Aubrecker, and made him a brain in a jar and is constructing him a new body.
Well, that's nice of her.
Yeah. She's in charge. Despite her genius, though, she lacks empathy, compassion, and moral qualms, which is a bad combination.
Yeah.
She became convinced she could bring anybody back to life, basically. And she makes Reborn.
Oh.
Which is a very cool thing.
That is very cool.
Her torment is that she cannot remake the miracle of scientific immortality embodied by her unbreakable heart. She relentlessly tries to understand and repeat the circumstances of its creation, but fails every time. Granted the gift of being a Dark Lord by the Shadowfell itself, she's immortal, and she can't replicate it. And it infuriates her.
So it's just a little bit like the mists of the Shadowfell just being kind of jerkish.
Yeah, it seems like they just want to push people. And I will say, she does some bad stuff in her story.
Oh, yeah.
So it almost feels like the Mist are going, hey, these are bad people. Not all of them, but some of these are bad people.
Yeah.
This is their own personal hell now, which they can't get out of.
which like the domain is under the rule of the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
But the Dark Lord is not subservient to the domain, but it's their power comes from there. I guess the best way.
Absolutely. There's a whole bunch more in here, by the way, about Dr. Mordenheim and how you can solve the problem and end this domain by finding her greatest creation and reuniting them, or because again she's kind of evil, you could just kill her, I guess, but you can save her in a way that you kind of can't do with any of the others, which is really interesting.
I like that. And as far as role playing is the ones you've laid out, the Dark Lords, this would definitely be the coldest.
Oh yeah.
She's
got no compassion at all.
Yeah.
She has one creation called Elise that she claims to love as a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got no compassion,
right.
And Elise is on the run from her. So, bunch you could do there.
Yeah.
Next up is Mordant, the domain of the haunted. The Dark Lord is Wilfred Godefroy, and the genre is ghost stories. Your hallmarks are ancestral curses, haunted mansions, misshrouded moors, and vengeful spirits.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. When death occurs in Mordant, it does not signal a passage to a state of rest or an end to the struggle of mortal existence. And I just love that sentence. Death heralds the beginning of a haunted afterlife as a restless spirit. Most of Mordant's people live in quaint communities, the largest of which is the seaside town of Mordantshire. The estates of wealthy families dot the Mordantish countryside. Most residents live private lives, adhering to vague strictures of what is proper or polite. The spirits of the dead don't rest quietly in Mordant. Each denizen of this realm can relate a story of a terrifying haunting that they or someone they know experienced personally. Everybody's getting haunted. Everybody tries to mind their own business because they know everybody's getting haunted.
You get a ghost. You get a ghost.
Yep. And then, of course, the house on Griffin Hill is the most famous haunted house in Mordant, known to be occupied by the spirit of Lord Wilfred Godefroy, who murdered his wife and daughter. And the proximity of the spirit realm spurs local eccentrics to investigate spiritualism and the nature of the soul.
Look, I'm just going to say that if I run this, the ghost assigned to the playing characters is going to be terrible at his job.
Oh, that'd be hilarious, right?
Boo.
Another thing I think is really interesting here is that your enemy is a ghost.
Yeah.
The Dark Lord is a ghost, and that means he can haunt. When you go into Griffin Hill Manor,
yeah,
he's haunting that place while you're in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Which that means that he has special stuff he can do.
Yeah.
While there that he can't do outside of it.
Oh, there's a whole list of abilities and powers in his dominion.
It didn't quite count. It's not the same as lair actions, but it's pretty close. I guess that's the closest thing I could put it to.
His torment is that he's concerned only with his own misery. The suffering of the other spirits in Mordant merely fuels his torment. He's exceptionally arrogant. He brooks no opinions or criticisms from his inferiors, and he blames every failure on his spirit servants. His family still haunts the house on Griffin Hill as well, and although he wishes for their love, he avoids the floor of the house where they dwell, resenting their rightful condemnation. He's also convinced that the apparatus, which you may remember, the apparatus is the key to escaping his undead existence. However, he can't even grasp the basic workings and is frustrated by every delay and malfunction related to the device.
So that could be terrible to play a character and get it to work, and not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, you get it to work and you bring him back to life.
Yeah.
And then you got to fight him as a human. There is a really interesting table here that I want to spotlight real quick.
Okay.
Which is the tragedy table. Which is where
Which is, by the way, the table of contents to my biography, but that's all right.
When your players enter a house, you roll on the tragedy table to see why the ghost that's haunting this house is haunting it.
Interesting.
And it's like broken hearts. This ghost was cut off by family members and didn't get its inheritance. Society shunned this one. Or this ghost just hates people that are doing good stuff. And is constantly going to try to stop people from doing good.
Best one right there.
I imagine like somebody goes to make a bowl of cereal in the morning and the ghost is like, I think that's a good thing you're trying to do. Your spoon's on the floor now. Make your cereal now.
Is this the ghost of a panda?
It's the ghost of a cat, probably.
Okay. I just wondered if it sung "Don't You," before.
Yeah. Don't you say? Oh. That's gonna happen now. There's also a romance table for ghosts. Maybe they didn't not pass on.
Okay.
Because first off, they can't in Mordant anyway. But
Well,
maybe
yeah,
they,
right.
maybe they didn't because of tragedy. Maybe there was something good, and now they're still there.
That's interesting.
Or maybe number 8 on this table, they're seeking vengeance on someone who spurned them in life. I mean, that's still romance.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot that you can do with this. I think with Mordant, that's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some good ghost stories. Maybe you're a party of exorcists that have come to the town.
I like the ghost stories. I like the guy there. He murdered his family.
Yeah.
Lives in torment because
Yeah.
of it. And his
He
family,
wants them to love him again, but he's afraid of the condemnation they have.
Right.
Which they should.
So, you go in, just take this manner that they're giving us.
Absolutely.
So you go in, you've got one floor, you're going to meet with 2, then you're going to meet with him.
Yep.
You have 2 different interactions right there that play up to a whole scene.
Oh, yeah.
A whole session. Good, just nice, intriguing little backstory. And I know there's so many tables and stuff in this.
Oh, yeah.
To go over. But the ones you highlight, like that's just handy.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't have to come up with every ghost
No,
that they meet.
we're going to go check this house over here on the right.
Right.
Okay, one roll. I got a little bit of backstory I can put into here.
This ghost is a jerk.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He hates you.
He doesn't want anybody to do good, ever.
Right. He hates you because you're breathing.
Yeah. Next up is Rish Mulot. Rish Mulot, or Rich Mulot, but I can guarantee you, based off the fact that the Dark Lord is Jacqueline Rainier, that it's probably more of a French style.
Yeah.
Because it's also Gothic horror. So
Yeah.
Rish Mulot is the domain of disease, isolation, and were-rats.
Okay.
This is a disaster horror or a Gothic horror. Your hallmarks are contagion, crumbling infrastructure, martial law, rats and vermin, and were-rats.
Yeah.
Like a pendulum, Rish Mulot swings perpetually between hope and despair. Some days the sun rises over Pont-à-Mousson as if it were an ordinary city and not one in which many of the buildings stand empty and abandoned. On those days, people can move freely, everything's great, but a day or a week or a month later, the first telltale cough cracks amid the crowd. As people, it's not what you think based on the fact that it's 2021, as people evacuate the streets and lock their doors, rats crawl from the sewers in tremendous numbers. Shortly thereafter, the gates slam shut. No doctors come, no information arrives. The populace is left to die to the gnawing plague.
Ugh.
It comes with the rats, but it doesn't leave with them.
Well, there's a few different ways. I could even change that up. The rats being the one they give us there, but you can use any vermin.
Oh, absolutely.
In any kind of setting.
Absolutely.
For that, and it is the point of the heroes to stop this contagion, or is it to
survive?
So just survive it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's what's so interesting about this is the rats bring it. They're the gnawing plague, right? The gnaws, as it's said here by some people. But that's not the problem. The plague, which is called the gnaws, is the issue. It's that when the rats leave, the plague is still there. It's an epidemic of crazy proportions. As martial law happens, cities are quarantined, people are not allowed out, and people just die off in droves to this plague. And if you leave thinking, oh, well, I don't have it yet, I can get out, the rats are still roaming the city, and they're still carriers. Because there's nobody to fight them.
Right. Everybody's locked up. Everybody went away.
Which is very, very interesting. I think there's a lot you could do with that style of campaign.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't want to spend too much time talking about the effects of quarantine or a epidemic with what we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
But I think we all have experience now in how frightening that can actually be.
Yeah. And silly name, but real thing, cabin fever.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
Some of those people in that town are going to be fine
Yeah, absolutely.
in there, just reading books, passing the time. Some of them aren't.
And I think the idea of, hey, the sun came up, the rats are gone, the plague's gone, we're good.
Yeah.
And then, but when does it come back?
Yeah, always
know?
always there in your mind.
Absolutely. The Dark Lord is Jacqueline Renier. She is not the person that was in charge, but they all died to the plague. So now she is the person that is trying to make up for it. But also, she's a were-rat.
Yeah.
She can control them. Her torment is that she has no taste for ruling, but she's obligated to keep up appearances to maintain her power. If people find out that she's only there so she can control the rats, so she can grow fat upon, not literally fat, but you know what I mean, upon what the people are giving her, then she won't be able to keep that position. So her decrees are rash and self-serving. Her schemes have killed most of the finer aspects of Rishmilo's society, and she endlessly craves the decadence she once took for granted. So, the people keep talking of establishing a new government when the plague threat passes. So anytime people get too comfortable, she creates a new strain to come through.
Interesting.
And of course, tables for adventure, tables for the plague, tables for... There's like stages of threat of plague, outbreak of plague, illness of plague with stuff for all that, pestilence of plague, bunch of stuff there.
That's really cool. I'm just liking this book more and more.
Yeah,
It's giving me hope for the two classic campaigns that they're going to give us.
yes,
That they're promising
I agree.
this year.
I want all of it to be to this level of detail.
Yeah.
We have two more of the big ones, and then I'll hit my cool one, and the rest are like Forlorn, Nvidia, Keening. Those are all. There's little bits of detail there, but not
Right.
to this level.
You'll have to take those worlds out.
Right, and I think people should check those out on their own. But Tempest is next. It's the domain of nature's cruel secrets. The Dark Lord is Mother Lorinda. It's folk horror. The hallmarks are fey bargains, nature worship, rural festivals, and secret sacrifices. All is well in Tempest. The fields shine with golden harvest. Everything's great. But if you linger, you can't escape the feeling of being watched, or the impression that the idyllic fields have a distinctly somber cast. The locals all hand-wave that off. It's just scheming fey, surely, but their smiles fail to mask the desperation in their eyes. Noteworthy features are that Victol is the only noteworthy community in Tempest. The idyllic village's residents devoutly follow the optimistic, naturalistic faith of the god known as Mother.
Okay.
Supposedly, no one born there ever wants to leave.
I'm sure.
There are no other large communities in Tempest. It's just Victol. The frequent festivals in Victol include a fertility celebration called the Tithe, which occurs once each season. The most zealous of Victol's faithful are Mother's Minders. These devotees sacrifice their left eyes to Mother to show their faith. Caves dot the land, connecting to deeper caverns where dangerous fae dwell. The people of Victor fear the fae and blame them for every accident and ill. But few children are born in Tempest. Determined would-be parents must bargain with the mother or the fae to bring them a child. Tempest is also a forested valley, to give you an idea of what it's like, between rugged mountains and cliffs.
It's a very classic setting, classic feel to it. You
Yep.
know, like this is this is what the Fae, the old stories of the Fae. This is the world where you would live.
It's even got a Lake Lenore.
Oh, cool.
Like,
Yeah,
they went all in on it,
that's good.
and then, go ahead, sorry.
No, it's just each one of these, you get a whole. You could run a session to a campaign in each one, just about.
Right.
And they're all there with all kinds of little tools. It's just nice.
I agree. The Dark Lord is Mother Lorinda. She's a hag, of course, as you would expect. Her torment is that she desires to have her family, but her inherently controlling, murderous nature leads her to destroy whatever she creates. She constantly doubts the adoration she receives from her daughters and worshippers, and she requires constant proof of their love. She can create hexblood children for others, but any being she fashions for herself is monstrous, ravenous, and short-lived. She fears that one day the sisters that she made captive to be able to become the Dark Lord will escape and seek revenge.
Okay. That was what was going through my mind. I was like, okay, this is a solitary hag,
Right.
that has turned her back on her coven.
Right. There's, of course, a table for your adventures. There's a table for weird sights that people might see. Just an example would be like a group of young people dramatically sob at the window of an old woman who tosses horned wicker dolls to those who sob loudest. Just stuff to be evocative, right?
Yeah.
And give you a reason there. There's a table for stuff that'll go on during the tithe, like what is it? What does it require?
Yeah.
You know? And, of course, some of those are just as dark as you'd expect. And then there's a table for her daughters and what type of creatures they are, one of which is a Garisto.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last of our big domains that we get names for and all the data for is Valakan, or Valachan. It's the domain of the hunter, Chacuna. It is a gothic horror and a slasher horror. The hallmarks are diabolical traps, hostile wilderness, and survival games. So this is a jungle of Valachan. And I say Valachan or Valakan, either one, because the first thing I think of is Katakan from Warhammer 40K.
Okay.
Because that's basically what this is.
Oh, okay.
Heart of the Forest. Dark Lord's heart is literally in the forest, inside the labyrinthine mazes of the jungle, to sustain the land. And again, there's a whole story about Chacuna and how she became the Dark Lord, and you should read that because it's really good. But Valakan is a land of dense rainforest, sandy shores, and forest-covered mountains. The wilderness is fantastically dangerous, but the people who dwell there have long flourished. Valakan hosts the Trial of Hearts, a battle royale conducted during certain full moons by Chacuna, the land's greatest hunter. Any wild plant or creature in the jungles of Valakan might turn hostile toward explorers, and packs of displacer beasts roam the jungle, led by Yana, a preternaturally cunning displacer beast that serves Chacuna.
Ugh.
So basically, at this Trial of Hearts, Chacuna will feed the heart of the competitors, except for the one who wins, to the jungle, basically.
So this is like a Aztec, Olmec
Yeah.
feel? Is that,
Mixed in with a battle royale. And that's what the whole society's built around.
And I can think of a lot of things that are better to come upon than a pack of displacer beasts.
Yeah, for sure. Her torment is that her bond is a willing one. She chose this, and if you read her story, you'll get the whole reason. She is born of these people that she forces to do the hunt. The previous Dark Lord was someone separate from these people that were being forced to hunt. And spoilers, I guess, if you're going to read it, she won the Battle Royale, the Trial of Heart, killed him, and then saw the great curse that is the Dark Lord must continue to feed hearts to this jungle or the jungle dies.
Yes.
And so now she has chosen this, and this is her torment. That to protect the people she loves,
She has to kill them.
she has to kill them.
Yeah.
She shields her people from the slaughter as much as she can, but everyone else is game. So obviously she would prefer, but because she set this trial up, if some of her people die, well, guess what? You gotta get fed to the forest.
I would have a really interesting time role playing, because I think there's because it's her willingness.
Yeah.
This is not something she's like, no, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. Well, you come up on this and like, we're going to take your heart and feed it to the forest. You're going to be like, okay, well, this place is evil.
Right.
You know, there's more to it.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting role play. It could happen. You know, if you win the tournament, you go up and you get to meet her.
Right.
You know.
Well, and I should mention too that the trial is not just battle royale against each other. She is hunting you during the trial.
Oh.
If you can survive her hunting you and the other people trying to survive, then you get granted a boon.
Oh, wow.
So, you know.
Now, you say boon. Are you talking classic boon from the Dungeon Master's Guide?
Just
or just something from
a boon,
okay.
A gift from her.
Okay.
Preferably something you request, but obviously she can't give you that. Then she'll give you something else.
Right.
But the trial's very dangerous. But if you can do it, then you can get a nice little deal. And there is a table full of complications, a D20 table worth of complications that can come up during the trial. Because obviously your party wants to enter this as a group, right?
Right.
That's the cool part. But if you can escape her and either win the trial by not dying when she tries to kill you, which she's probably not going to give up part way because you're a stranger and your heart's free game, or finding her heart and destroying it, then she can't get it back if she's slain. And the book says she will give up to not die.
Okay, yeah.
Or if you, for some reason, infuriate her, then, she will attack anyway, I guess. But it does say those who take Jakuna's mantle can ensure their allies' safety if you do kill her and take and put your own heart there, but then you are stuck in Valakan.
Right.
Which is really cool. I like that a lot. So, very, very nifty. And then, like I said, there's a big list here of other domains of dread. And this is a cool part, too, where they give you a D100 table that has all of them. Oh. So you can roll on the D100 and get any of them. And number 100 is the DM's design. So, like, one the DM made, which is really cool. And again, all of these have, like, little things. Most of them have just a single paragraph, so I'm not going to get into all of them. But I want to read this last one for tonight.
Okay.
I want to read this one, which is now my favorite one.
Okay.
And I hope, based on all the ones we've already been through, that you then go, wait, this was his favorite one? And go, what is exciting about this one, But this one is Sire 1313, The Morning Rail. The Dark Lord is the last passenger. And the hallmarks are escape from disaster and the lightning rail. And basically, when the great calamity hit Eberron, and the people of the land of Sire were almost wiped out, some of the surviving citizens, in an attempt to escape the calamity, got on a rail, the lightning rail, the trains that they used, right? Mm-hmm. And tried to flee. But the train was held up because of a very important VIP, right? A very important person. I guess I just said very important person. But either way, the train was held up. And so then when it did get to go off, it was too late. It got caught up in the calamity. But before it could be destroyed, the mists reached out and pulled it in. And now it is called Sire 1313, which was the name of the train, the Morning Rail. Basically, this lightning rail from Metro hurtles through the mist as a traveling domain. Those on board fear the disaster pursuing them that they don't realize is long over. They fear the mysterious passenger seated in the train's foremost carriage, which is the Dark Lord, and the necrotic energy now infusing the engine's elemental spirit. Yet none of the passengers realize their endless escape is pointless, as Sire 1313 carries only the dead. I love this.
No, that's
Can
really
you
cool.
imagine a campaign on this train?
Yeah.
And you're moving your way through the cars and you're interacting with all these people. And especially if your players don't know these people are dead.
Yes.
And they slowly start uncovering the mystery, right? Yeah. They talk to people and go, hey, that sounds weird. Can I do a history check to see if I know what that means?
Yeah.
Like, where's Metrol?
Yeah.
You go, well, Metrol is a town in Eberron. Or if they roll high enough, Metrol was a town in Eberron.
Right.
And you don't let it all go right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then they slowly piece together, these people are all dead. Oh.
So you said the Dark Lord was the VIP?
Yes, and there's, for all of these that just get these little blurbs, there is no, full breakdown of the Dark Lord, right? You don't get torments and everything for them. I can just with reading that, I can come up with a torment for him, which is they waited for me, and because of that, they're all dead.
Yeah.
And now I'm stuck with them forever as a reminder that if I hadn't made them wait, they might have survived.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, absolutely. This is one where, and all of these are. I won't read off all the little details about them, but I will give you the names of the others.
Yeah.
But all of these are you make your own stuff for them, basically.
Right.
It's just a setting. Forlorn is one which has a castle with goblin servants. Gastria is one that has a notorious hedonist in it. That it's like a whole manor set up. Gehenna is Gehenna.
Yeah.
You know, it's a ruin in Gehenna, rocky homes, starving animals, all that fun stuff. Invidia is a state outside of the village of Karina with a bone spirit board and supernatural forces. The Keening is literally a banshee village, like a silent village where people can't speak because they're all deaf because this banshee's here. Clore is it's basically like the end of all things. 13 stars orbit the sun-like sphere, one winking out every hour, and each time one of the stars dies, the domain's ruins islands are drawn into Clore and consumed by flames. Like, there's a lot going on there. Kind of feel like that one might should have gotten its own blurb. There's no Dark Lord in that either. That's why it's falling apart.
Right.
Markovia, which is a sapient animal island, basically, which is really cool. What is that island of Dr. Moreau?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the island of Dr. Markov. Dr. Franciszek Markov, I'm sorry. The Nightmare Lands, which is literally the Nightmare Court, which is a phantasmagoric realm where features shift endlessly. Niran Jan, whose Dark Lord is Sathik, which is like a shadowy land with asceticism being the thing, and led by a sadhu, holy figure. Nova Vasa, which is nomadic riders and nomadic tribes on a vast plain. O'Dare, which is a village of children with evil toys made by the toy maker Giuseppe. The Rider's Bridge, which is a domain where it's a haunted bridge with a headless rider. You can figure out how that goes. And of course, most of these are made to be put in other domains as well, these little ones.
Gotcha.
Of like, you know, the Headless Bridge would be maybe in Morden, where ghosts are, or in Har'Akir, or in Lamordia as a mutated centaur. Lots of stuff you could do there. Recibolos, which is a small music hall. I love this one, by the way. It's literally the study hall from Bloodborne, right? It's a small music hall similar to those found in a city, and its lord Dwerden was a king, but now in this music hall, it's like he's cursed to entertain others, a task he's not qualified for, and so he's easily angered, and he has a puppet, a dummy, that he uses ventriloquism through. There's Skana, which is a reality-manipulating theater, who's the Dark Lord is Lamont Sedium Juste, and this is basically like the Yellow King, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the Sea of Sorrows, which is nautical horror, and it's the murderous pirate Pietra Van Ries. You have the Shadowlands with the Dark Lord Ebonbane, which is where the spirits of fallen paladins will come to, who have broken their oaths. So cool, right? The knights seek to vanquish evil following the example of their founder, but these paladins that have fallen from their oaths or vengeful souls or anything like that are drawn to battle here.
Yeah.
Basically, like a reverse Valhalla, right?
Yeah.
There's Sorange, which is a swamp where people are imprisoned. And all these different people that are stuck there in these alligator-filled swamps. You have Staunton Bluffs, which is endless warfare and repeating history, where these mercenary regiments sweep the countryside, burning villages, killing residents, and pushing ever closer to the castle. And it just repeats again every day, literally every day. You have Tovag, which has undead military dictatorship and is led by Cass the Bloody-Handed, who is a vampire, who was once the champion of Vecna, but is now stuck in the mists and can't get back to his lord. He believes this war with Vecna is still going on. And he, of course, if you know the story of Cass, he's betrayed Vecna.
Yeah.
But he believes that he's still fighting Vecna, and he's not. He can't get out. He doesn't know that. Then there's the Vague Agency, which is detective work and memory loss, where you're a detective, or this group is an office of a detective agency, and they can't quite remember what they were working on, but it's okay because you pull out the filing cabinet and you got another case right here. And just, so much evocative you could do there, too.
Yeah.
There is Zaricia, whose Dark Lord is Soto, which is about serial murders and urban decay as doppelgangers have invaded this town, this city. These are really cool.
They are. And you could go down this list and like all these stuff, just the ideas behind them.
Yep.
Yeah, you got a quest. You got a session.
Yeah, each one of these could be a really fun diversion in the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who knows? Maybe it changes the campaign forever.
True. The, especially the little ones, the bridge and just all these stuff. And a lot of these, they're put in, and this is done on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of these are done. You know the story they're pulling from.
Right.
Okay? You may not have thought about using it in a D&D campaign, but you know the story they're pulling from. Mm-hmm. And so you have stuff to work with.
Well, and like we said earlier, take any one of these, rip it from the Shadowfell, and it can be an encounter. It can be a setting.
Yeah.
It can be a one-off in that world that you've made that has nothing to do with the Miss, you know?
So the guy in the music hall wasn't a king.
Right.
Maybe he was just, he was the manager there or something.
Yeah.
A lot of things you could do that,
absolutely.
Now he has to perform, and he was never the performer before.
Right.
Ravenloft, the whole Shadowfell brings just so many different dimensions to come at it with.
I agree.
Because I made the talk about the Mistwalker quest.
Yes.
Going through each one of those.
Absolutely.
You've got 2 years at least, if you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Of weekly quests.
Oh, yeah.
Just
do each domain.
And the ones you got bigger information on, hey, there's 2 or 3 sessions.
I would love to do a series of campaigns just on those short ones.
Just
like you said,
around the short ones? Yeah.
Each campaign is one of them.
Yeah.
This session, or not each session,
right? Each session, yes.
Tonight, you're on the train.
Right.
Next session, you're going to that music hall. Session after that, man, everything's falling apart. Like Doctor Who almost, right?
Yes.
You get back in your bus and you go to the next one.
Right.
And I said bus because it's not a phone booth, but,
yeah.
We got to be diverse. We got to be distinct. That's it.
I like the idea of like, okay, there's obviously a problem to solve here.
Yeah.
Now, like for the train one, is a problem to solve is, hey, you're going to figure out these people are dead.
Right.
And then convince them they are.
Yes, so they can move on.
They can move on.
Absolutely.
And, okay, well, if you don't do that, you're stuck there.
Right.
Or maybe one character has to stay behind. I think it would be a very fun quest because one, it's all going to be connected to the characters.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's it.
Yeah.
The environment, the NPCs, the everything. If you give them a home base, maybe that'll be where you have one. They have their own domain with their own Dark Lord. They're serving something like that. But yeah, every session, and canonically, if you wanted to really stay to it, stay with D&D.
Yeah.
Is a different feel.
Yeah, it absolutely would be.
It's a very exciting book. And what are we doing next?
So next week we're going to talk about making your own Dark Lord.
Okay.
Making your own domain. We're going to talk about the Travelers in the Mists.
Okay.
Which is, how people would get around.
This is like the Vistani and
the
others,
Vistani,
right?
The Keepers of the Feather, stuff like that.
Okay.
Because we got to cover those if you want to be able to make your own domain.
Yeah.
Right. And then the week after that, because I feel like that's probably going to take a week. If it doesn't, we can talk about some of the curses or the Taraka deck and stuff like that's been added in.
Okay.
But I really want the week after that to be the monsters.
I know.
I want to get into these monsters.
Yeah. You've been. I know you're ready for that.
Yeah, but I do feel like we need to touch on because the book does a great job of telling you how to make a Dark Lord, but I feel like we could have some fun back and forth about well, if I wanted to make a domain,
Okay.
what would I focus on?
So we'll kind of skim over that section, take their ideas, and build something.
Yeah.
Let's see what they. Okay.
Now that we've gone through all of the ones they've given us to be able to get a good feel for them.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, so many different types too. That just makes me happy.
Me too.
It really, really does. I think D&D's been missing this book.
Yeah,
been needing it.
This is my favorite book so far.
Yeah, I haven't decided if after all this said and done if I'm gonna get a hard copy yet.
Right, I'm really thinking about it.
It would look good on my shelf. I'm not gonna lie. But,
I want to see some of those maps full size instead of from my
phone.
phone.
Yeah, true. They I like the format of the book too.
Yeah,
I like it being all in one.
Before we stop, do you think you could do a campaign? And I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm just saying, do you think you could? Where instead of the players are going to the train, the morning rail, to try and solve the problem, what if they're on it already? And the campaign starts with them thinking they're leaving.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't know they're ghosts either.
Right.
And then you slowly figure out, hey, they're dead.
Yeah.
And the campaign ends with them either stopping the train, being able to move on themselves, or becoming the new Dark Lord.
Yeah. And see, that was just a simple. That wasn't much to that.
Right.
It was just that, hey, here's this, and you're like, hey, I could run this whole campaign. I got this idea already.
Oh yeah.
And that's to me, that's like, okay, this book is working.
I agree.
Monsters next. No. Creation next week. Monsters after that.
We could do monsters next week if you want, and that way we have the monsters in mind for making a domain.
I tell you what, let's do that. Let's go back on the stuff that we're gonna really throw our opinion stuff on.
Right.
We'll do that. We'll cover monsters.
Sounds good to
me.
me.
We'll have them there. If that takes 1 or 2 weeks, and then go back and say, okay, we have the monsters. We have everything this book's given us.
Right. Let's make a domain.
Let's make a domain. Yeah.
That sounds
good. Yeah. Right on, dude.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Well, we've been going for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
I do think we sped up a little bit there towards the end.
I had to, yeah.
No, for sure. It's been a long day for me, too. But if you want to see, and we're not sponsored, but if you want to see these domains and they're full, everything about them, all the stuff about the Dark Lords, because every one of those is really interesting.
Yeah.
Check the book out for yourself. Get a D&D Beyond physical, whatever. Check that out for yourself. And I guarantee you, if you are somebody that enjoys reading about that kind of stuff, you're going to love this book, because each of those Dark Lords has a ton of information.
Yeah. And good information, too.
Oh, yeah. Each domain has a bunch of cities in it, a bunch of places people can go.
Yeah.
So
just not for me. Okay, the tools, and like I said, I haven't got to delve into the book. Obviously, I've been avoiding the D&D YouTube and everything.
You'll be able to after next week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. But just as you're sitting here, you could have picked any one of those and gone over the full description, all the charts it gave.
Yes.
And we could have probably described it, hey, here's a full session.
Oh,
here's a full, 5-session campaign.
Well, not just that. I think we could have spent a whole podcast on all of those that had all the tables. Talking about all the different table options, like we did for the sub races, right? Well, the lineages.
One of the ones I'm very interested in was the Lich King Left, the Ascension.
Yeah.
And the tables on it, because it has the this is one way.
Darkon.
This is one way you can end this. This is how you can do it. Darkon, something like that. It was close.
I think so. I'm gonna double check.
Okay, I find that just very interesting. It's almost like, here's a quest, fill in what you need to.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think, as I've said before, very good. I think I've said before, like, I'm not very good with the supplements, actually using like a written quest,
right,
on that. And so this definitely works better for me.
Oh, I love it.
Because I can fill in where I need to.
Yes.
I got a great structure, great framework.
Yeah.
And then just fill in where I need to.
All right. Well, I think that's a good podcast.
I think so too. What's going on? What you got?
I gotta ask, which one was your favorite?
I'm having a hard time with that.
There's really good ones. Every one of them.
Because even the one I was like, that's kind of basic, but good. With that, I'm thinking, I could run a really cool session out of that.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to depend on my mood.
Yeah.
Which was my favorite. They get excited about the train. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's-
mean, I
that's
feel
a-
like people expect me to say that my favorite is Blitzburg, but like that train's so cool.
Well, like I said, man, the train aspect, that is like some of the great, those old stories that are written, whether it's Murder on the Orient Express
Right.
to go
Yeah.
with the train thing,
Absolutely.
or 12 Angry Men.
Yep.
You have the limit on the space,
Right.
and everything is actually the power of that little one.
Oh yeah. Well, and
You know?
Snowpiercer too, right?
Yeah.
Like those people go kind of nuts
Yeah,
because they're all boxed in together and they're afraid and
yeah. Weirdest sequel to Willy Wonka ever. I never would have picked that.
All right, though, we'll wrap things up here then. You got any plugs?
No, I think right now my brain is a whirl with this and what, because the monsters are coming up, and
I'm so excited to talk about them.
if they've done half the job that they've done so far with the monsters on this, I'm excited, very excited.
Oh yeah, if the monsters in this book, which I will not spoil,
Yes.
because I have already looked over the monsters, if the monsters in this book are as good as everything else, you can kind of just get this book.
That's what I'm thinking.
You don't really need the DMG.
You get the free
You don't
basic.
really need the monster manual.
Get the free basic rules, and this book,
Yeah.
and you got a really good set.
Oh yeah.
Really good set.
And again, for anybody who's like, well, I don't want to run horror though, they don't have to be horror.
No.
Like you can take the stuff with the Jiangxi and the Dream in a Koth, and none of that has to be horror.
Well, like I said, with the haunted one, I'd love
Yeah.
to make the ghosts that's assigned to them just terrible at their job.
Oh, yeah.
You could have there's some of these realms that would be harder to pull a little
Yes.
humor or lighthearted out,
Yes.
and that's the way they're designed.
Like the carnival.
Yeah, but there's ways you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can skim or dive.
Yes.
And you're going to get something from this.
Yes. All right, though. With all that said, your word for this podcast, if you have somehow made it through all of this, is, let's go with Lamortia.
Lamortia? Okay.
It's a very good flowing word. I almost said let's go with Dementliu, but let's go with Lamortia.
Yeah, Lamortia. I think it's a better one.
Yeah.
Got a nice. It has a little bit better flow to it.
It does. It flows really well.
Flows really well.
You know what else flows really well? Until next time, I have been Trey.
I've been Rungan.
We've been the Full Spectrum D&D podcast. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Dungeons & Dragons has to offer.